Beautiful. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I miss our Wednesday night crew, but I'm happy that we could at least be together online here. Kind of lonely in here by myself, but I'm just gonna sit and gather all of this community spirit with us being online together. And I know that changes the experience completely, but I certainly appreciate you being here with me in whatever way, shape, or form that needs to look for us in this moment. So just taking a moment here to get settled, to comfortable in whatever space you've created for your yoga practice this evening. So laying your body out on your mat, however that needs to look, knees bent, legs long. Arms maybe beside the body, and if that suits, you can take the palms up towards the ceiling. Maybe hands onto the belly, wherever it is that you can begin to feel really grounded for your practice this evening. And just noticing the weight as your body draws down into your mat. Observing if there's anything that you're clenching onto, grasping, any muscular effort that really doesn't need to be there in this moment. And if it feels right to do so, allowing your eyes to completely close or softening the gaze to relax the eyes. And although you're in a familiar environment, just seeing if there's the challenge this evening to really separate yourself from whatever distractions might be happening around you, and to allow yourself to settle into your yoga space and onto your mat. Softening your jaw, softening the space between your brows. And then inviting a deep inhale, allowing that to travel in through the nose. And then exhaling, softening the jaw and releasing with a sigh. And then taking the next inhale through the nose, offering that inhalation for a sip longer than the first one. Pausing at the top of your breath. Exhaling softness through the shoulders, softness through the jaw as you release with a sigh. And at the bottom of that exhale, can we wrap that immediately into the next inhale? Feel the entire midsection all the way up to the top of the collarbones. As you exhale, softness through the jaw, softness and weight through the shoulders. And invite the navel in and up. And just allowing this breath here to seamlessly and effortlessly flow in and out of one another. The inhale wrapping into your exhale. The exhale transitioning right into the inhale. And if it feels comfortable, allowing now both the inhalation and your exhalation to flow in and out of your nose. Observing here how that transition of breath, now moving in and out of your nose, changes the sensation. It changes the sensation of breath sometimes, but also that sensation within our physical bodies. Can we still allow for softness through the back side of the body with this nice and full and somewhat controlled breath here? If at any point it doesn't feel right, just let go of that breath and allow it to move however it needs. For the time being, looking at this yogic breath, calming through the parasympathetic nervous system as we invite the in and exhale in and out of the nose. Awareness of how that breath, what's the word I'm looking for? How that breath changes sensation or notices sensation, let's say, in our physical bodies. You all know that in our physical practice, that breath tells us so much. If you're holding your breaths, often we need to back off a little bit of the pose. If the breath is coming with such ease, perhaps we need to find more depth within our pose. So my challenge this evening is to notice how breath is related to movement, but equally how our movement is related to our breath. So we'll stay here with whatever your yogic breath looks like in this time. Really focusing on that seamless transition between the inhale and the exhale. And noticing if your mind begins to wander, how you can bring it back to this anchor point. Bringing it back to the inhalation, the exhalation, and the space in between. And stay here in physical stillness for another moment longer. Next time you inhale, can you take the biggest breath you've taken all day? Just for a moment at the top of the breath, pause. And then exhale, release that breath through the nose, all the way down the core, belly button draws in. And once that breath is fully released, can you pause for just a moment? And then from here, once again, allowing the inhale and the exhale to move in and out of one another. And taking awareness all the way down to the tops of your toes. And just for a moment here, just observing the temperature of the air on the tops of your toes. And then take awareness now to the tips of your fingers. And without offering movement, just noticing the temperature of the air, perhaps warm, maybe a little cool. And offering awareness now down to the tops of the toes, once again, resisting the urge to move still. Noticing temperature once again on the tops of your toes, but equally thinking about the space that your body is taking up here. Can you visualize the toes reaching up towards the ceiling, but equally allow the heels to fall down into the mat? Exhaling, taking awareness once again to the tops of your fingers. Observing temperature once again. And then feeling where the tips of the fingers fall in space. Can you visualize the fingers reaching to the outer edges of the room? And then exhale, weight into the back of the hands. Lastly, taking awareness to the tip of your nose. Noticing the temperature of breath as it draws in and out. Can you visualize the nose reaching all the way up to the ceiling in the room that you're in? And then as you exhale, can you sink some weight into the back of your head? And then all together, can we notice the temperature on the outermost points of our bodies all together? Fingers, toes, nose. And then as you exhale, sink weight into wherever your body is supported on your mat. Awareness now coming down to the backs of your heels. Allow awareness to float up the bottom of your feet and to the pinky toes. And then one individual toe at a time, can you begin to draw the tiniest of movements? Allow that movement to travel inwards to the big toe side of your feet. And then once there, beginning to wiggle all of your toes, allowing the ankles to become involved by rocking the feet side to side. Maybe making some circles now through the ankle joints. Taking those circles in either direction if you choose to do so. And then as you inhale next, 1 foot at a time, can you allow the feet to come and meet your mat? And then once both feet are on your mat, if it feels right to do so, allow the knees to come inwards to touch so that the low back is a little more supported. Otherwise, you can keep the knees stacked above the hips, whatever feels most comfortable. And then take awareness to the outer fingers, pinkies first. Beginning to offer the tiniest of movements through the hands. Wiggling all 10 fingers eventually, bending all through the knuckles. Each individual joint and each individual digit. And maybe wrapping the thumb around, forming a fist, and beginning to roll out the wrist either direction, bending the elbow. As best as you can, let's allow the shoulders to still remain nice and heavy on the mat. That the weight of gravity is drawing the body down and you're fighting against it. And then as you inhale next, 1 hand at a time, let's float the arms overhead. Your palms are going to face up towards the ceiling, bend to the elbows to really find some rooting through the shoulder blades. Just allow the elbows to draw heavily downwards towards your mat so that the chest slightly lifts. As you do that, you'll notice that we create a bit of space and through the low back away from the mat, and that's okay. Keep awareness into that low back space, and the next time you inhale, can you think of drawing the tailbone towards the shoulders and shoulders towards the tailbone to exaggerate that space. Big arch away from the mat through the back. Hold for a full round of breath. In and out. And as you exhale next, draw the belly in towards the spine and guide that low back towards the mat. Maybe it even comes to touch. Inhale, lift the spine away from the mat, peel the tailbone towards the shoulders, draw the shoulders towards the tailbone. Big exaggerated arch through mid and low spine. Exhale, draw the belly in, lift up from the lower belly. Low back comes to meet the mat. And taking that one last time, the inhale finds that pelvic tilt. Engagement through the mid-spine by drawing the shoulders towards the sitting bones. Hold for however long your breath is holding. And then as you exhale, draw the navel in, press the low spine down. And then allow the arms to wrap around behind the thighs, one knee at a time. Draw the knees in towards your body. Take a nice big counter stretch. Noticing connection here, the entire spine on your mat. Squeezing the inner thighs in towards one another. Come through center and pause if you're rocking. The hands are either onto the shins or behind the thighs. Inner thighs are squeezing in towards one another. Let's take that right ankle on top of the left. You can allow the feet to either be flexed or relaxed, whatever works. And then from there, while keeping the inner thighs squeezing, let's begin to take some circles with the knees. Either direction is fine. Your hands can be there for support if you'd like. You can have them stretched beside the body if you prefer. Keep that engagement through the thighs. Noticing the low back, lift and release, and then connect again with the mat as you find your movement. And then coming back through center, the next time you make it there, pause for your inhale. Inner thigh squeeze, reconnect, and then taking those knee circles in the opposite direction. Maybe as large or as small as they need to be at this point. But just observing the rise and fall of the spine. Maybe a little bit of massage in through the glutes. Full breath still, that seamless transition between the inhale and your exhale. And then the next time you come back through center, releasing the cross of the ankles. Exhaling, inviting the soles of the feet to come to the mat hip distance apart. And open up your arms nice and wide, palms face towards the ceiling. Just for a moment, reaching to either side of your room. Notice the weight of the shoulder blades, the mid-back perhaps releasing a bit from the mat. Inhale deeply through the nose. Fill the entire midsection with breath. Exhale, take your knees over to the right. Allow them to settle. Breathing in through your left side body here. The option of taking arms into cactus arms by bending the elbows if you'd prefer. Or keeping those outstretched arms. Both are fine. And as we hold here, space is created. The option of taking that left knee, stacking it on top of the bottom right. If you're there, thinking about squeezing inner thighs in towards one another. Let's all become aware of our left shoulder here. Can we peel the shoulder blade away from the earlobe so there's space and through the side of our neck? If the knees are stacked, can we squeeze the inner thighs in towards one another, just like we did in our knee circles? And if that top leg is on top of the bottom and you want to go a little further, let's extend the left leg. Get nice and long, reaching the toes across the mat first, and then up towards the top of the mat. And for some of you, the foot might be all the way down onto the mat. For others, it might be hovering if you choose to move here, and both are fine. Weight heavy into that left shoulder blade, pressing first down into the mat, and then down towards the bottom of the mat, so we still create space away from the earlobe. One more big inhale here. Through the nose, find that space. And on the exhale, if that leg is extended, bending the knee, squeezing the inner thigh. And then from there, wherever you're at, let's inhale, bring the knees back up through center. And just allow the knees here to rock side to side to reset the spine. Using your next exhale, you can transition the knees now over to the left. Just allow them to rest. Adjust the foot distance however you need to. Breathing now into your right side body. Continuing to find that reach equally out of all of our fingertips, right to either side of your room. And then deciding if this is where you need to be on this side. Same options as the other side. That right knee now can come on top of the left, so long as the right shoulder blade is rooted. If you're there, squeezing inner thighs in towards one another. And then taking note again of that right shoulder. So first gluing it down into the mat, and then drawing it away from the earlobe, as if we're taking that scapula and literally shoving it or pushing it down to the bottom of your mat. Lots of space in through the upper body here. And finally, if you'd like, the option of extending the right leg long to the long edge of the mat, and then up towards the top of the mat. And it can hover, it can come down, knee can be fully extended or knee can be bent. Just moving here nice and mindfully of the twist. Trying to stay full and present with a somewhat restricted breath. Big inhale through the nose. Wrapping that right into the next exhale. If the leg is extended, let's begin to stack the knees, bending the knees. And then from there, taking that inhale to guide yourself up through center. And then once you're there, just allowing the knees to move side to side to release any tension in through the low back space. Eventually, when you're coming back through center next, let's pause there. Walk the heels nice and close to our sitting bones. And then from here, let's allow one hand at a time to float overhead, as if the fingers are reaching towards the top of the mat, like that good morning stretch. Arms can be fully extended or elbows can be bent. And just for a moment, again, noticing that low back space as it wants to lift away from the mat as we do this. One elbow at a time, or one hand at a time, I should say. Let's see about reaching towards opposite elbows. So right hand can come towards the left elbow. Left hand can come towards the right. If it doesn't quite get to the elbows, we can reach for opposite wrist, or we can allow the fingers to come to meet. Find where you're at for the moment. And then once you have your grip, wherever that looks like, can you think about pressing the elbows with energy into the mat? And then notice how, again, that mid-spine wants to lift away from the mat, and that's okay. That's what we're trying to achieve here. So shoulders are pressing into the mat first. And then let's think about drawing them down towards sitting bones to take an even more exaggerated arch through the mid-spine. As you exhale next, one knee at a time, let's bring them in towards the body so much that the low spine presses into the mat. And then let's come into tabletop legs. So knees stacked above hips, ankles in front of knees, and toes drawn up, hip distance apart still. Can you engage the core so much here that the spine is pressing heavily into the mat? If at any point the upper body needs to release, that's okay. Just take the hands beside the body. One big inhale here. As you exhale, let's take one foot at a time to come down to the mat and allow the low spine to release away from the ground. Inhaling deeply through the nose. The exhale will take us right back into that. So one knee at a time, coming into our tabletop legs. Press the low spine into the mat, lift up from the pelvic floor and engage through the belly. And then releasing one leg at a time, low spine releases. And then from there, let's lengthen one leg at a time to the bottom of the mat, point the toes, release the grip of the fingers and take that full body stretch. Find length from fingertips all the way out through your toes. And then exhaling, sweep the arms around, bring the knees in towards the body. Lift the forehead towards your knees. Take a nice big counter stretch. That should feel really good here. You feel nice to rock a bit side to side. And then exhaling, coming back through center, releasing first the upper body, then the lower body, feet to the floor. Hands can rest wherever they need to here. Take a big inhale through your nose, and then exhale with a sigh. Just really let it go. Wiggle out through the shoulders, wiggle out through the hips, whatever you need to do to come back to your neutral spine or grounded position. Inhaling now, let's float the right knee in towards your body, taking your hands behind the thigh, interlacing the fingers, and then extending the leg up towards the ceiling. Your right thigh falls nice and heavy. We're pressing it with energy through the right heel. From there, beginning to point and flex the foot, wiggling the toes, whatever you need to do to find a bit of release in through the foot and in through the ankle. Shoulders are still drawing down, elbows nice and soft. Give the jaw a bit of a wiggle here. And then as you inhale next, can you press out through the heel? And then allow the hands to walk up your leg a little bit more, anywhere really but on the knee, it's perfectly fine. So finding a bit more depth here in your hamstring stretch. If you'd like, you can begin to peel the upper body towards the leg, pressing that low back right into the ground. So lots of core support here. Whatever variation you're in, think of drawing the shoulders down into the mat, away from the ears. That core stability is holding you nice and strong here, especially protecting through that low back space. If you've lifted the upper body, mindfully releasing it back down to the mat. And then from there, bending the right knee in towards the body, hands behind the thigh. Take a nice big stretch here, knee drawing in. And then inhale, extend the leg. Coming into our bicycle pedals, so lowering the leg towards the mat. As you inhale, pointing the toes, drawing your knee in. Then extending it up towards the ceiling, toes flat. Exhale, take the whole breath to lower the leg. Point the toes. Inhale, take the whole breath to draw the knee in and extend it up. Flex the foot. Lots of control, lots of core stability. And then inhaling, drawing it in and extending it up. We'll take that one last time together. So really focusing here on the hip mobility, mobility through the knee joint, mobility through the ankle. The next time your leg is extended, once and again, taking the hand behind the thigh to offer some support. Hold for your full breath. The next exhale, releasing the hands if it feels safe to do so. And with lots of strength, beginning to lower the leg all the way down to the bottom of the mat, going slower than you feel you should here. It's a little bit of muscular effort guiding you all the way down until your heel comes to meet the mat. And then once there, allowing the toes to fall outwards, the knee to track outwards, the inner thighs comes up towards the ceiling. Just take a moment. Big inhale, full exhale. Inhaling, bring the right foot now to meet the mat. And then guide the left leg in towards the body, hands behind the thigh for some support. And then extend the leg up towards the ceiling. So once there, take a moment to draw the shoulders first down into the mat. Elbows are nice and soft beside the body. Beginning to draw that movement now in through the left ankle, in through the left toe. Left thigh falling heavy into the socket. Maybe taking some circles in through the ankle joint. One more big breath here, just finding that movement through the ankle. And then as you inhale, drawing the toes up, pressing with energy out through the heel. Can you find more extension through the back of the leg? And either choosing to stay here or walking the hands up the leg, maybe peeling the upper body towards the leg, pressing low spine into the mat. And then if you're choosing to do that, just noticing how that stability through your core has the ability to protect the back. Because we can really replicate the same motion if we're sitting in a chair by engaging the core, if we're at our desks all day, engaging the core to really stabilize through the low back. So ultimately, this is kind of that movement we're working towards. If the upper body is peeled away, slowly release it back down to the mat. And then from there, hands can be wherever they need to be for support as we move into our bicycle motion. So as you exhale next, lowering the heel slowly down towards the mat, as long as your exhale takes. And then the inhale, we point the toe, bring the knee in, extend the leg up. Exhaling. Lowering down. Coming just to that hover, point the toe, inhale, knee draws in, leg extends up. Just taking that a few more times, moving at the pace of your own individual breath. Noticing the femur bone moving into the hip socket. Really lubricating all the lower body joints here. And then as your leg extends up next, pausing for a moment, hands can come back for support if they're not already there. Find that extension through the back of the leg just for a moment, pressing out through your heel. And then as you exhale, slowly, 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 lots of muscular effort here. Begin to lower the leg down towards the mat. Eventually allowing it to come all the way down. And then once it's there, allow the toes to track outwards, knee to spin out, inner thigh to come up towards the ceiling. And just take a moment there to observe the sensation. The next time you exhale, we're going to lengthen the right leg down to the bottom of the mat as well. And then instead of tracking the toes up, we're also going to let those toes fall to the bottom corners of your mat, as if we're creating some space in through the front of the hip. Big inhale through the nose. Exhaling that breath all the way down the belly, down the legs, and into your heels. The inhale is going to find a bend first in the left knee, and then into the right, allowing yourself to come into your reclined cobbler's pose. So bottoms of our feet come to touch, knees are wide, hands can fall wherever comfortable here. Thinking of the inner thighs here, spinning up towards the ceiling to find that space in through the pelvis and in through the hips. The knees are drawing down to the mat with the weight of gravity. Let's take a nice passive version of our cobbler's pose to start with. So wiggling through the shoulders, wiggling through the hips, squeezing and releasing the inner thighs, looking for space that we might be holding on to ever here that we don't need to have just for this moment. Maybe you're in a nice passive version of this already, and if so, just focusing on sensation of presence and sensation of breath for the moment. Every inhale, finding space. Every exhale, finding weight. The next time you inhale, can you press the outer edges of your feet in towards one another with some effort? Allow that traction to find more space in through the inner thigh. And then as you exhale, release that traction, release that effort. So inhaling, pressing through the outer pinky edge side of your feet. Allow that to guide the knees a little bit wider. Low back is going to lift away from the mat. And then exhale, soften as much as you can. Release the shoulders, release the effort. And then one last time. Inhaling, press through the outer sides of your feet. And then exhale, let it all go. Guide the knees in towards one another. And then draw them in towards your body. Hugging them nice and close just for a moment. And then exhale, rolling onto your favorite side. Pressing your hand into your mat. And slowly, slowly, slowly guiding yourself up into your seated easy pose. And then once you're there, just rubbing in through the thighs, finding muscular release and through the lower body. Belly is drawing in towards the spine, shoulders are drawing down towards the sitting bones. Find that space between the shoulder blades and your earlobes. As you inhale next, float the arms overhead. Take the whole breath to arrive. Allow the fingers to graze one another at the top. Soften the elbows. Exhale, come through heart center. Take your time. Inhaling, spread the fingers, bring the arms overhead. Palms come to touch now. First fingertips, next palms, soften the elbows, coming through center. Keep that core activation, protect the low spine here. Inhaling, bring the arms overhead. Taking a bit of a side stretch flow as you exhale, right hand comes to the mat, left hands extend over through the side. And then floating the length of your breath here. So the inhale draws you up through center. Your exhale finds the opposite side into your seated side stretch. Inhaling up. A little bit like a dance here, right? The breath is guiding our movement. The movement is simply following the length of the breath. Maybe every time you transition from side to side, there's a little bit more space to explore. Pressing the opposite sitting bone into the ground. Really extending and using that leverage to facilitate or to deepen that side body stretch. We'll take that one more time. So completing the series left to right, wherever you're at in this moment. And then once you're done, you can turn the palms towards the top of the mat or front of the mat. And then exhale, fingertips come in front of your body. Walk your hands away. Allow your chin to tuck and the upper body to release towards your legs. And then once you're there, maybe wiggling out the jaw, allowing the head to nod yes, head to shake no, releasing through the neck. And then as you inhale next, beginning to peel the upper body all the way up, stacking the spine, crown of your head is the last thing to come up. And then from there, one leg at a time, let's extend the legs in front of the hips. You can draw the toes up once you're there. Bend can be in the knee, your legs can be fully extended. Sitting up nice and tall. Looking for that 90-degree angle or aiming towards a 90-degree angle with our upper and lower bodies. From there, let's take the hands onto the thighs, maybe even the outer thighs, whatever suits. And then as you inhale, can you find that extension out of the crown of your head? Lift, 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 shoulders draw down. As you exhale, can you begin to walk your hands slightly forward? So they're on the thighs, maybe now they come in front of the knees. Allow the upper body to follow. Inhale, lift out of the crown of your head. Exhale, hinge from the hips, maybe finding a bit more depth in your seated forward fold. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, sink into the fold. And then doing this with your breath. So every inhale, you're gonna lift the crown of the head, lift the chest. And then every exhale, you're gonna see or play and see if there's depth. Until you reach the point where you're like, no, Candace, I'm good, this is enough. We're gonna hold there. So finding your seated forward fold, however that needs to look for your practice this evening. And then once you've found the depth, if it feels safe to do so, the option of tucking the chin, allowing the upper body to slightly round. Maybe you use the hands to help guide yourself a little bit deeper. Once you arrive into your forward fold, can you soften the back teeth? Give your jaw a little bit of a wiggle. Notice if you're holding on to something that's not serving you in this pose. And if so, just letting it go. Allowing yourself to completely arrive and be present in this. So a nice opportunity here as we find stillness in our physical bodies to once again come to be present with our breath. Allowing that inhale to seamlessly and effortlessly transition right into that exhale. And the exhale to invite the next inhale. The next time you inhale, you're slowly going to begin to lift yourself out of your seated forward fold. The last thing to find the lift is the crown of the head, bringing your chin level with the ground beneath you. And then this time, coming into our one-sided seated forward fold. Let's bring the right foot either into the outside of the calf, the right thigh is spinning up towards the ceiling, just like we did on our reclined poses. Or perhaps the foot comes to the inside of the thigh. If that's not enough for you this evening, you can take the ankle towards the left hip as well. So those are our options for a seated forward fold, half seated forward fold. And then once you arrive there, inhaling first, finding that lift out of the crown of the head. So that nice length we just created. And just like we came into our traditional forward fold, let's allow the hands to melt down the leg. So as you exhale, lead with the heart. Hands begin to walk down the leg until you arrive in your version of this pose. The inhale finds the lift out of the crown of the head, lift out of the heart. Your exhale finds you into your seated forward fold. There's got to be a better word for that. It's a mouthful. Just a fold. Inhaling lift. Exhale, folding perhaps a little bit deeper. Okay. And then once you arrive, the option of allowing the chin to tuck towards the collarbones, maybe allowing the upper body to slightly round, whatever it is that you need out of this tonight. And then as we hold again in stillness, this time taking awareness to whatever physical sensation begins to creep up. Where do you feel this in your body? And then once you identify that space, can you imagine the breath traveling into that area? Can you find a little bit of surrender, muscular surrender, let's say, in that space? Allowing yourself to begin to let go and know that this is safe for our bodies to move into. Using your next inhale, beginning to transition out by lifting the body nice and slow. Hands walk back in. This time, lengthening the right leg, inviting the left foot to either the outer calf, inner thigh, or opposite hip. Right toes are drawn up, finding a bit of extension through the back of your right leg. First, find that lift out of the crown of your head. Find that beautiful length. When you exhale next, beginning to walk the hands down the leg. Take the whole breath to get there. Inhale, lift out of the crown of the head, draw the shoulders back. Exhale, continuing to fold. Inhale, shoulders away from the earlobes, softness through the jaw. Exhale, allow yourself to arrive, opposite side, half seated forward fold. Then after you've arrived into your pose, taking note of sensation on this side. Where do you feel the physical effects of this fold? And once we identify that space, taking breath into it. Literally imagining that breath traveling from your lungs. For me, it's the back of my hamstrings. So arriving to the back of the hamstrings and being like, okay, this is cool. Let's let go a little bit. The breath is allowing the surrender of the muscular effort. Maybe that allows for space to go deeper. Maybe it's simply awareness that we need to back off slightly. One more big breath here, holding your pose nice and strong. And then as you inhale next, releasing the hands, lifting the heart, coming all the way back up, chin level with the ground beneath you. This time we're going to bend the right knee and allow both of our feet once again to come to touch into our seated cobbler's pose. So knees are going to fall wide, hands wherever comfortable really, even looking down. And I think I've said this to you all before, we either kind of get that diamond shape or a triangle shape in our legs, depending how close or how far you need your heels away from your body. Both are fine. As you inhale, can you soften the shoulders away from the ears? Keep that space you've worked hard for all class. Earlobes away from shoulders. Chin level with the ground beneath. Lift out of the top of your head as if it's extending up towards your ceiling. And then the option of allowing your gaze to fixate in front of your body about 6 feet away. Maybe it feels nice to fully close the eyes here. In my body, it feels nice to kind of give the legs a little bit of a wiggle, noticing where I'm holding on to with muscular effort that does not need to be there, typically inner thighs. So noticing if there's any more space to begin to release, directing breath into that area, allowing for softness here. Just like we did on our backs, envisioning the inner thighs spinning up towards the ceiling. Knees falling heavy. Core is drawing in towards the low spine to protect the back. And as we hold here, you might decide that you need a little bit more from your seated cobbler's pose. And if that's something that resonates, you can begin to walk the fingers a little in front of the feet. It doesn't have to be large. Perhaps that simple transition is more than enough. For others, you might want to continue to fold a little bit deeper. Maybe for some of you, your head's going to come all the way down to your feet. And then the option, just like we did in a reclined cobbler's pose, to find effort versus ease. The effort will be pressing the pinky side of our toes in towards one another. Notice how that engages in through the inner thighs. And then the ease will come by releasing that effort. So if you choose to do that, just playing with transitioning, squeezing and releasing. As you hold, deciding if there's space to fold. If you're sitting up nice and tall, staying present with sensation and breath. We'll take another round of breath here. No rush. Take the entire inhale, nice and big. Exhale, releasing any effort that might be had. And then inhaling, if you've taken that forward fold option, walking the hands back in towards the body, stacking the spine, lifting out of the crown of your head. And then from there, all together, releasing our cobbler's pose by taking the soles of the feet to meet the mat in front of us, about hip distance apart. And then allowing the hands to come behind the body, spinning the fingers away from our sitting bones. And then from there, pressing into the palms, squeeze the upper arm bones in towards one another as if we're lifting the heart. And then exhale, just allow the knees here to release side to side. Seated windshield wipers. Just releasing in through the thighs and through the low back space. And then coming back through center. Turning so that you have some space on your mat. And then once you're there, one leg at a time, lengthen to the bottom of your mat. Soften the elbows and guide yourself onto your back all the way down until your spine is completely supported on your mat beneath you. And then once there, point the toes, bring the arms overhead. Take that full body stretch. Exhaling, releasing the upper arms in towards the legs, knees draw close. From here, let's allow the knees to open wide. Hands wherever they need to be for support here. And then allowing the knees to rock here side to side. So creating a little bit more space in through the pelvis, and through the hips, a little more weight in through the low back. And then coming back through center, knees now come above the hips. Exhale, soles of the feet come down to the mat, hip distance apart. Let's take a moment once you arrive there to walk the heels close to your sitting bones. And then press through the heels and draw the low back into the mat once again. Trying to maintain that spacing, or that lack of spacing, I should say, between the low spine and the mat. Let's feel the right foot on the ground. And then inhale, begin to guide the right knee in towards the body. Right hand is going to come to the inside of the thigh. Palm is going to face midline. And we're going to reach up to either the front of the shin, coming into half happy baby. Or perhaps coming to the outside of the right foot. If you're there, we're going to spin the right thigh up towards the ceiling and then draw the ankle towards, or working towards, over the right knee. So riding into happy baby, and maybe rocking a bit here side to side. Wherever feels nice for you. Can you use the strength of the right arm or right bicep to energetically draw the leg down towards the mat. Just take one more breath here, finding half happy baby, right side. And as you exhale, next engaging through the core so there's some control and support. Releasing the right foot all the way back down to the mat. Just moving right over to the opposite side. So as you inhale, left knee draws in, hand extends up the inner thigh first to either find the shin or outside of the foot. Exhale, spin the thigh up towards the ceiling, ankle draws over the knee or working towards. And then the option of holding in stillness or finding that rocking motion. One side might feel a little bit more accessible versus the other. Breathing into it. Take one big inhale here through the nose. Big, big breath. And then engaging through the core on the exhale, lots of control to release. Left foot once again comes down to meet right. And then putting it all together here. So on the inhale, both knees draw in towards the body. Hands reach up the inner thighs, either to reach towards the shins or to reach towards the outer edges of your feet. And then as you exhale, thighs spin towards the ceiling, ankles stack over heels, finding your full expression of happy baby. Can you use the energy of the arms to draw the feet towards the mat? A little bit of muscular effort there through the biceps, but equally, can you envision pressing your feet as if they're trying to get your footprints on the ceiling above you? Can you find extension through the low back space as if your tailbone is reaching towards the bottom short edge of your mat? Lots of connection with the low spine here into the ground beneath you. A little bit of effort through the upper body. Coming back through center, engage the core to stabilize the body. And then exhale. One leg at a time. Let's extend the legs down towards the mat. Inhale, bring the arms overhead. Take that full body stretch. And then exhale, wrap the arms around. This time taking the soles of the feet to meet the mat as wide as they need to. Arms can rest comfortably beside the body, or palms can be spun up towards the ceiling, shoulder height or lower. And then from there, allow the knees to release as you rock side to side. Finding a little bit of recovery here. Resetting through the spine. Trying to find lack of engagement, I should say, in through the thighs. Or once again, coming into that point of softness. So wherever your knees release to next, you can allow them to settle. Then offer the gaze in the opposite direction of your knees. Take a moment there. Using your next inhale, coming through center. Exhaling, knees and gaze in opposite direction. Allowing yourself to settle. Using your next inhale to come up. And then your exhale to transition into Shavasana. Taking whatever it is that you need to be comfortable for the next few minutes. Extending your legs to the bottom corners of your mat. The option of having knees bent if that better suits. Arms release beside your body. Eyes heavy. Gaze can be closed. And just noticing here the inhale and the exhale and the relationship in between. exhaling any awareness of breath, any need to control the breath, any need to control our body. Finding yourself here in collective energy all together in Shavasana for the next few minutes. Just noticing here the fingers and your toes. The temperature of the air and the outermost edges of your body. And beginning to offer tiny movements, hands, feet. Your head rocks a bit side to side. Beginning to draw movement back into the body, preparing yourself to draw your knees in towards your chest. And then once your knees are drawn close, you can walk onto your side, cradle the head and the upper arm, and allow yourself to rest there for a few breaths. And whenever the timing suits, you can bring yourself up into your easy pose. Allowing your gaze to continue to be nice and soft once you reach that pose. Knowing we're here all together in our online space, still continuing with our energies of one another. Let's inhale, bring the arms overhead. Take the whole breath. Exhale, soften all the way down through heart center. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great.